Hey everybody, it looks like Riot is doing a Mundo mini rework. They posted about this 3 days ago and they were looking for feedback. So I decided let's do a league news update video, talk about this Mundo rework, give my own feedback on this, see where we can go with this. Before I go any bit into this video, because once again the League of Legends community has been a bit volatile lately, a bit hateful, okay? I want to remind everybody, right down here they said, please keep in mind none of this is guaranteed to ship. Just building some understanding and conversation at this stage. So don't go hating anybody. Don't go expecting this rework to go live. This could not happen. This could totally happen differently. This could happen in 5, 7, 8 months from now. Okay? Don't be a hate mob. Be respectful of everybody. Okay? So let's talk about this. Pondering some Dr. Mundo changes. Looking for any feedback. Goals. Minimally / don't change win rate. My personal opinion, and I'm looking at Masters Plus here, Dr. Mundo does need to be better at the high ranks, and he does need to be worse at the low ranks, or at the very least, neutral at the low ranks, definitely higher at the high ranks. So I think instead of goals being minimally don't change win rate, I think it should be to shift him more into to better at the high ranks, worse at the low ranks, so that he's more balanced everywhere, so he doesn't need to keep... Because the problem is Mundo keeps getting nerfed into the ground because of the low ranks every time he's even somewhat viable. So I think it would be better if they, made a real effort into doing that. Make him more late game skewed and less early game. So I actually think this one could be a bit dangerous, because the thing is, the late game tends to be more of a low ranking thing. The early game tends to be more of a high ranking thing. So despite Dr. Mundo still to this day remaining viable at the lower ranks, at the higher ranks he suffers a lot. I think if they went with this change without adding more gameplay or something like that, I think that this would make him even better at the low ranks and even worse at the high ranks. He also wants to reduce ear flicks, feels bad kit mess ups. I actually disagree, shockingly, with this one as well. So I'm 3 for 3 on disagrees. I actually think Dr. Mundo can't screw up enough. I think they should make him more able actually to screw up. And actually, I think he should have more feels bad moments. Every champion should have a feels bad moment. Every champion should have the total ability to just completely screw up their kit and have totally just countered and have nothing go well. Because the thing is, if you have low lows, then that means you can also have high highs. Now, you don't want to have super low lows, okay? You don't want a champion to feel like they can just totally not do anything in certain matchups or situations, but at the same time, I feel Dr. Mundo as a champion is too consistent, too much of a stat check, and I think that, yes, actually, they should not be reducing these ear flicks, and they should in fact be adding more ear flicks, more feels bad moments, so that his skill cap actually goes up. So let's go through the changes as they're saying. Goes where he pleases. Now, I'm actually going to load up and play as Dr. Mundo here, so that you guys can, as I'm going through these, you guys can see them exactly as I'm going through them, which I think, do I have Corporate Mundo on this account? Oh, I do. Do I have purple? I do have purple Mundo. Okay, good. Okay, so the passive, instead of losing 7% current health, will lose 8%. Instead of 7% current health, we'll lose 3%. Instead of healing 8%, we'll heal 4%. So the idea that I'm getting from Riot on this change is right now during the laning phase, certain champions, like for example Aatrox, can knock off his passive, then go pick up the canister before Mundo could possibly pick up the canister, which allows them to basically just get an additional % damage nuke onto Mundo, which actually makes his passive bad for him. So what they're doing here is they're reducing the amount of health he loses, but reducing the amount he heals. I actually kind of disagree with this one. I get what they're going for, but I think that this could not exactly go the way they want it to, because the problem is risk rewards, things like Poppy's Shield. Poppy's Shield is really big when you pick it up, but when you don't pick it up, you get nothing. And then Poppy can actually, because of her lack of healing and sustain anything, she can take a bad trade and things can go poorly for her. So when Poppy doesn't pick up her shield, they can actually end up going very poorly for her. Now I know Poppy's got more control because she can choose when to throw her shield, but I'm a bit worried that reducing the feels bad moments for Mundo here are going to put him in a situation where, is he going to be even more of a stat check? Because if he's even more of a stat check, then he's going to be even better at the low ranks, even worse at the high ranks. That's just my thoughts on this one. They're also going to nerf the early game on his passive and buff the late game. So instead of 0.8 to 1.6, it'll be 0.5 to 2.25. They're also saying it'll be non-linear progressive. So basically before level 11, it's going to be much lower. After level 11, it's going to be much higher. I actually think this is probably a good change. Mundo's a bit safe of a champion. And particularly into the late game, his passive kind of doesn't do anything. So I actually think overall this is probably a good change. Does Dr. Mundo? Yeah, Dr. Mundo only has 7 base health though. They might want to raise his base health to like 8 or maybe even 9. Because the thing is, Dr. Mundo still does use health to use his abilities. So he does still hurt himself a decent chunk. So Heart Zapper, W, always receive half of your gray health regardless of enemy hit. So, I don't think this is a good idea at all. So this is basically, if I could just show you here, you press Heart Zapper and then you get hit and you build up gray health, right? What they're doing is it'll heal even if you don't hit an opposing champion. I actually don't think this is a good idea at all. Because the thing is, Dr. Mundo's W is one of the least... Like, no one plays around this ability. This ability was supposed to be one of the main abilities of his new kit to give some counterplay, to give some things where Dr. Mundo tries to end it before an enemy can get away from him. His enemy wants to do as much damage, then back out before he can heal. And, oh, if he can only heal on minions and he only gets half the healing, oh no, right? But the problem I have with this is that they're reducing even more counterplay by... You know, if he takes a fight up here and you back out before he heals, then he can still heal, right? He can't whiff it. And again, Dr. Mundo, as stat checky as he is, I don't think this is a good idea. I just don't think this is a good idea. In my opinion, they should actually be accentuating his W, making it stronger, and then putting more of his kit into using his W properly. Like, more of his power should be in using his W properly. And right now, no one gives a shit about his W. No one plays around it. No one avoids it. I guarantee most champions, most people don't even know what his W does. So I don't think this is... I don't think removing more counterplay is actually a good idea. Blunt Force Trauma. Instead of 15 to 35 AD and then an additional 25 to 45, depending on your missing health, it would now just be a flat 4% max health. Not more damage on lower HP. So I actually, shockingly, you might be shocked that I disagree with this one, but I do actually disagree with this one as well. I actually think that Dr. Mundo, being the low health comeback king, is actually cool. I think that's his thing, right? He's a low health comeback king. He does more damage. If he manages to equalize out the fight through his ultimate or through his passive, canister pickup healing, or maybe his W heals for like 7 and then he doesn't die because his W is terrible. That's the joke here. You know, the idea is, in my opinion, I actually think that that's kind of the thing. Like, if he does a lot of damage, particularly in the early game, by being at low HP and whacking you a lot, I think that's his thing, right? So, I mean, they're kind of removing his thing here. Removed instantly kills small jungle monsters. I don't care. Monster damage is up. I don't care. I don't care about Jungle Mundo. I don't care about Jungle Mundo, and I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think anyone cares about Jungle Mundo. Okay? So, he's R. He's R. He's getting the bonus AD removed. Okay, shockingly, I do agree with this one. I do actually agree with this one. I think using his ult and just stat checking and running at people with the bonus damage, because if they're moving the 4% max AD, what is it right now? It's 4 to 7% health into attack damage. They're removing that and then just making it 4% on his E. Now that's a large amount of damage lost. But the thing is, using his E bonus damage, then his ult bonus damage, Mundo could stat check a lot, and he didn't really have to use his ultimate intelligently. He didn't really have to do anything smart. Often, he would just pop his ult, and if they were like squishy or something, he would just run at them and he would right-click them to death. And it wasn't really interesting or anything, and I never really understood it, particularly because it made his ultimate weird to play. Like, you know, let me just rank up here. Let's say I want to do damage, so I pop my ult, then I start right-clicking someone. But what if I'm already at full health? Do I just not get my bonus damage then? Do I wait for me to be at low health? Because then the thing is, you want to wait till you're at low health, because if you're at low health, then you get the bonus health based on your missing HP, which makes all your kit work better, right? So it just sort of, his ultimate sort of had this weird thing where like he was trying to do two things at the same time, and I think focusing it more into being a high risk ability that you want to use when you're low on health. And that's what they're doing here. The missing health as max health is going from 8 to 15 to 15 to 25. And I think that's a good change too. I think incentivizing Mundo players to get as low as is humanly possible. Get that health as low as you can and then pop it, and maybe you die sometimes. But that's the thing, risk reward. I think doing that, it's like on Tryndamere, right? Sometimes Tryndamere dies without popping his ult because he tried too hard. And that's how I think Mundo should be. I think sometimes it should be okay that a Mundo tries to get himself to too low HP, and then he either gets burst down or he gets CC'd, or maybe he didn't do it early enough and he didn't heal enough and he ended up dying. I think that should actually be the ideal. So I actually do think this is a good change here. Again, like I was talking to this kid, I think he needs more risk and more reward, which is why I'm saying this W, losing some of the risk, is a bad idea. And I do like a lot of this here, but I think Riot really should go into his W and actually buff it. If you need to nerf his Q, that's fine. Let's be honest, his Q, like, it has some counterplay, I guess. You dodge it. It's not the most interesting ability. His E literally is no gameplay. You just auto reset. That's fine. Not every ability needs counterplay. But the whole thing about Mundo is he activates his W. You load on a bunch of health damage, and then he needs to find you and heal. So like, let me get shot a bunch here. So like, if I'm playing Mundo, right? And let me do this, and there should be two tower shots coming at me. There we go. And then I boom, and I heal, and I get that big heal. But let's say I'm not next to somebody, and oh no, I missed the heal because I kited me out, right? Like, I think that should be the risk reward. And maybe you buff, maybe instead of doing this change, always receive half your gray health, maybe you just buff his W. Maybe damage sword, instead of 25 to 45, kick that up to like 35 to 50%. Even at rank 1, make it like 35%. Because I think, especially during the laning phase, it just, nobody gives a shit. And that's my biggest problem with the Mundo. No one, the whole thing that was supposed to make Mundo high skill was that he loads up his W, and then it becomes a mini game of when does he end it? When does he pop it to get the healing? If he waits too long and then they back out and he doesn't get the full healing. But if he does it too early, then they can, you know, go in for the full trade. And oh no, then he's used his whole trading thing, right? Like, that's supposed to be the thing, right? But that's not happening right now. And I think, this is just me, I really think that Riot should buff the hell out of this W. Make it more interesting. And if you want, reduce the cooldown into the late game, because I'm pretty sure the cooldown doesn't even start happening until you end it. Yeah, so like 17 seconds plus duration is way too long into the late game. I don't see that the cooldown goes down with rank either. I'm like 90% sure it doesn't. So maybe make the cooldown a bit shorter, because like Jax's counter strike is 14 to 8. Now, I'm not saying you can go 14 to 8, but maybe you could go like 17 to 13, maybe even 17 to 10, because if you want that to be Mundo's late game, if you want to be stronger to the late game, then I think it should be more around his W and using his W properly. His opponent's kiting out his W. Maybe even make it last shorter. Maybe instead of 4 seconds, make it 3 seconds. Maybe make it a 17, instead of 17 seconds cooldown, make it like 14 to 10, but then make it only last 3 seconds. So Mundo has to use it as at an intelligent time, and then then he would have to hit his Qs to keep people in range, and like his kit would start making more sense, because I feel like this is what you were going for with the rework, right? I feel like that was the entire point. You get your ass beat, you pop your W, you get your ass beat, and then you pop the ultimate, and then okay, well, I didn't actually hit the minion. Oops. But, I mean, that should be fine, right? It should be fine to die on a champion, even a tank. It should be fine to die. It should be fine to misplay. If you play Ornn and you E and they dodge out of your E, you just gap goes into a wall and oops, you didn't do anything. If you play Sion and you miss your Q, oops, you didn't do anything. It's fine because particularly Mundo is so stat checky right now, he already has a lot of gameplay that he gets for free. Every champion should have something they can do, right? Every champion should have a fallback, something that's consistent, so they don't just totally fall on their face and end up 100% dead into some matchups. But again, the thing is, Mundo already has his E, he already has his passive healing, he's already got his ult healing, right? Like, he's never gonna end up totally useless like a Scion who just cannot fight some champions like Yone or Aurelia or Akali, right? So, I know I sound like a broken record, but I do think there's room to buff the hell out of his W and make this more of his gameplay. So that's my feedback to you, my good sir, Twin. And so, my opinion to you is buff the hell out of his W. Yeah, it's totally cool. Remove the bonus damage on his ult. That's cool. Just add some more damage back in his kit somewhere. I don't know where. But, you know, and that would be fine. Honestly, I think this would be fine. So, that's it. That's this video. Thank you all for liking. Thank you all for subscribing. Leave a comment on your opinion down below. Anything here? Do you agree? Do you disagree? You know, anything you feel like? What, you know, give me your thoughts. Give me your feelings. You know, what do you think about this? What do you think about this rework here, okay? And as always, make sure to subscribe to my Patreon. You can find a link in the description down below. Remember to subscribe to my Patreon. It helps me immensely for as little as $3 a month. Special shout out to my YouTube members. Thank you guys. You guys are great. And anyone who just watches this video, gets through it, likes it, thank you. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.